Yeah. I would prefer those things. Yeah. As a person not interested in a team.
Yeah.
Helen. Perfect. Hello. Test 1, 2, test 1. Yep. Not yet, I've been like 5.
Yeah, no,
It's on my desk.
Yeah. I'll be back. Testing. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Can we try one more time?
Hey, go ahead.
Let's go.
It's on. Hello? Oop. Sorry, I'm getting I'm on what, sorry? Yes. I'm checking that now because if the mic isn't working, it'll be internal. Where's the mic? Oh, yeah, you can hear me. Yeah, it's coming. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah, I don't think the handle is picking up audio. Do you mind if I turn off the camera quickly and turn it back on? Works. Good. I'm guessing we're still here. Looks like it is. Bluetooth microphone. All my audio is grayed out for some reason. It's grayed out in the menu. All good, yeah, no, it's all good. I've got the Canon XA40. Right now it's stuck on internal. I'm trying to flick it over. Let's go! Sorry? Yep. Yep, they're both plugged in, powered on, but it's just coming through the internal mic for some reason. The handle's working, but the audio's not coming through.
Testing, 1, 2. Welcome to Wembley Park, Box Hill against Preston Lions. Let's go! It's the final day of the NPLW Victoria regular season, and with games taking place concurrently all across Melbourne, you're joining me this afternoon in the eastern suburbs as Wembley Park sees Box Hill play host to Preston Lions. Box Hill readying for a finals campaign, a brilliant season they've managed to put together, particularly over the last couple of months. And they welcome a Preston Lions team whose season hasn't exactly gone to plan, but they'll round things out today on what is really a landmark occasion for Preston. It's the end of an era in some senses, with already the club making some big announcements in the last 24 hours in terms of who will not be continuing with the club into next season, most notably Emma Checker, the commanding and experienced central defender, and head coach Dan Foden. He'll coach his final game this afternoon as he looks to back up midweek's very impressive win against Heidelberg United and end the season on a high note. But it will be far from straightforward against a red-hot Box Hill team who come in to today's game not only looking towards a finals campaign, but also on an incredible 8-game winning run. 8 games in a row they've won, have Pythagoras, and they'll be looking to make it number 9 as they head into those final 2 weeks of the season. Final spots already secured for Box Hill, but there is the possibility for movement on the final day depending on this result and some others around the grounds. They're currently sitting in 3rd spot, Box Hill, which would mean that they would be away in one of the preliminary finals. A win today could see them jump up into 2nd spot, which would allow them to, of course, host one of those finals before the grand final. A certain advantage, particularly considering how good their home form has been. Things don't go their way though, Box Hill. They could find themselves dropping as far as 4th, which would set them up for an away game against Heidelberg United at Olympic Village, and probably fair to say that most teams would be keen to avoid that despite the Burgers' recent shaky form. It's an early look in for Preston, and the first attempt comes already. Box Hill being called into some defensive action, and Chloe McKenzie, who's taken up her post between the sticks, is able to make a more comfortable claim second time round. Kogan Subaratnam, the Box Hill coach, has made 3 changes from the team that last time out picked up a 1-0 win against Spring Hills here at Wembley Park. Some big name inclusions as well, as Sophia Sakalis and Zoe Hudson are back into the starting 11, whilst as you saw there's a change in goal as well, with Chloe McKenzie taking up her post. Preston Lions, they've made plenty of changes, understandably so. Nothing really riding on this game, as we see Valentine Percy, their leading scorer this season, firing a shot. But it wouldn't have counted in any case with the offside flag raised. But Dan Foden's made 5 changes to his final team as Preston Lions head coach. We'll run you through both starting 11s in just a moment, as we see Rihanna Policina on the ball for Box Hill. Certainly be keen to keep winning heading into finals rather than suffering a bit of a hiccup in their run to September action. Box Hill. That's a loose back pass intercepted by Karina Rossi, who now looks inboard to Policina. Early look in for Box Hill as Nicolina Bucalo was on the ball. Amendolia trying the acrobatic pass forward, and Valentine Percy looking to continue the ball in that direction. Josie Alessino, though, will get back and mop up for Box Hill. For Pythagoras, looking through their starting 11, as mentioned, in goal is Chloe McKenzie. Number 3, Josie Alessino. Number 4, Liv Ellis. 6 is Zoe Hudson. Number 9, Karina Rossi. 10, Rihanna Policina. Number 15 is Sophia Paliwoda. Number 25 is Maho Murakami. 27, Nicolina Bucalo. 28, Elwyn Parbury. And 99, Sophia Sakalis. For Preston, meanwhile, unsurprisingly, adding a few younger names into the mix, some lesser-sided players, particularly at NPLW level. Chief amongst which is in between the sticks. Maya Kokorevsky gets her run as goalkeeper for Preston this afternoon. We could see her first involvement in a matter of moments as Box Hill look to apply a bit of early pressure. Looking through the rest of the Preston team, number 2 is Jade Feeks, 15 Emma Checker, 17 Ellie Lamont, 20, Summer Kapanekia. 28 is Eliza Amendolia. 30, Elena Vatke. 35, Mizuhu Yamada. 41, Emily Roach. 44, Valentine Percy. And 46 is Grace Johnson. So still plenty of quality in the Preston lineup, despite the number of changes that have been made and the infusion of a bit of youth. We'll also, you'd imagine, see some of those lesser heralded players in the second half coming from the substitutes bench. As I briefly mentioned before, Preston coming into today off really a shock win midweek. There's a chance here for Ellie Lamont. Skips past the goalkeeper. Preston lead early. Ellie Lamont with the finish. Rounded the goalkeeper. And a player of her quality was never going to miss that chance. Preston Lions lead at Wembley Park. And they're looking to give both Emma Checker and Dan Foden the ideal send-off. It's been a season of struggle for Ellie Lamont at times, struggling to get onto the pitch and maintain her fitness. But she'll be thrilled to have put that chance away. That just her third goal of the season. Bit of a come down for a player who is Preston's player of the campaign and really one of the most influential figures over the last couple of years. Chance here for Karina Rossi. She looked to stick in a toe just before the young goalkeeper, Kokorevsky. Our referee, Angelique Manjon, happy though that the ball went behind for a goal kick for Preston. So a lead for Preston at Box Hill. This is a venue at which Box Hill have lost just one league game all season. You've got to go right back to the opening couple of months of the season where they found themselves on the end of a heavy defeat to South Melbourne when they were absolutely flying out of the blocks. But they have been near flawless the last couple of months, Box Hill. In terms of results, they have been 8 straight wins. It's a mighty impressive record. And it's why they start this final day sitting in 3rd spot. A couple of points ahead of Essendon Royals and a couple of points behind Bulleen Lions. But with that early Preston goal, it may well open the door for the Royals to jump over the top of them. The Royals playing what is probably the most hotly anticipated match of the weekend today, as they're hosting Heidelberg United in what could well be a finals preview. But if the Royals were able to spring an upset against the Burgers and Box Hill were to lose here today, that would allow Essendon to jump into 3rd spot and send Box Hill into 4th, and mean that it would be Pythagoras who would take on Heidelberg in an all-Greek preliminary final clash. And incidentally, setting up an all-Italian prelim in the other with Bulleen Lions and Essendon Royals. That's a sloppy pass, though, which could open the door for Sophia Sakalis. Plays it back, and the shot fired in from Murakami is... well, the goal's ended up in the back of the net. Well, not really sure what just went on there. Somehow, Box Hill are level. Well, extraordinary scenes. And as soon as Box Hill went behind, they very quickly found themselves back level. It was Murakami's shot. It caught a wicked deflection. Bounced over the goalkeeper. Well, that's an unbelievable goal. You won't see many quite like that. The spin and the bounce. Catching out the young goalkeeper, Maya Kokorevsky. And well, we're 1-1 at Wembley Park, so it's a bit of a freak incident, but very valuable goal for Box Hill as they look to avoid that first finals meeting with Heidelberg United and secure themselves as high a ladder finish as possible. Also the chance to leapfrog Bulleen and secure a home final. Bulleen, who this afternoon, well, it would require an almighty slip up for them to lose at home to Brunswick Juventus. Amendolia charging forward, runs right into the path of Maho Murakami. Not sure if she'll be credited with that equalising goal. It was a blocked shot, which then just caught it was an unbelievable leg break, if you will, to bounce over the top of the goalkeeper and bring Box Hill level. Hoping there for Parbury, but Yamada got there first. Now Murakami launching it towards Karina Rossi. Bucalo goes across to Polacina, and there's space here on the left-hand side for Olivia Ellis. Uses the underlapping run of Sakalis. Still Sophia Sakalis. It's good effort from the goalkeeper, who did really well. Maya Kokorevsky off her line, and having endured a horror moment early on in her NPLW career, she's done really well to block that shot from one of the most potent attackers in NPLW Victoria, Sophia Sakalis. Ball launched up towards Percy. Will be carried by Paliwoda, sent forward to Polacina. And now Ellis retreats for Box Hill. Running through the middle is Roach, trying to send that ball to release Elena Vatke, but it was a little bit too narrow, the pass in the end, so that allowed Chloe McKenzie to claim fairly comfortably. Of course, a heavy A-League influence for both of these teams, benefiting from some of those mid-season recruits. Box Hill have made really good use of theirs, the likes of Sakalis and Polacina dictating in the middle of the park. Holly Murray as well. She was laid out this afternoon. See if she features in the game at all, or indeed it's being ruled out for the entirety of the contest. Karina Rossi, another player coming down to Box Hill from the A-League, from their A-League season, and also a former FV Academy player, where she certainly made her mark in a team full of some of Victoria's brightest young talent. Has really adapted seamlessly to life at Box Hill, done a really good job, Karina Rossi, in elevating this Box Hill team. 5 goals to her name this season. A couple of really high quality central defenders to contend with today. You see her outsized by both Jade Feeks and Emma Checker. So after a hectic opening few minutes, first with the Ellie Lamont goal, then with the most uncanny of equalisers, we stand at 1-1 at Wembley Park. So back where we started. Pass cut out by Ellie Lamont, who looks to spring forward, but well defended by Paliwoda. Here is Parbury looking inboard to Polacina. Now Rossi lets it run. Just about kept it in, but the trailing leg taking the ball out of play, so Mizuho Yamada will resume for Preston. Flick on towards Eliza Amendolia. We will have seen that both goalkeepers, not exactly the best surface that they're having to deal with. A big square of grass has been cut out, so it's just that big yellow patch in front of them. Will make life very uncomfortable for both shot stoppers, you'd think, and we've seen that already in the opening minutes of this clash. It's a nice turn from Roach. Looks towards Summer Kapanekia, but tracking back was Sakalis. Alessino, one of the breakout stars for Box Hill this campaign, sets away Sakalis, who has Ellis in support. Cross come in. Oh, it's a brilliant goal from Liv Ellis. From an unlikely angle, it was fired towards goal. And Box Hill have turned this game on its head in a matter of minutes after going behind to the early goal. Liv Ellis firing it in from that far side. And doubling the misery of Kokorevsky in between the sticks for Preston Lions. So after a shaky start, Box Hill find themselves back where they were maybe expecting to be in this one, ahead early. Really is very uncomfortable conditions for a goalkeeper, not just with the surface, but the wind as well. It's a fairly brisk and miserable afternoon in Melbourne. Patches of rain coming through, but hopefully will be clear for the full 90 minutes today. There was another spot of rain just before kickoff. But as you can see, the sun is back out and hopefully will make for slightly more pleasant playing conditions. Carlos looking to turn out of trouble, draws the foul from Emily Roach. Roach, who spent the last A-League season with Western United. Of course, Western, on their future, very much up in the air, so we'll see what it means for players like Emily Roach and whether they'll be able to continue their A-League career at Western or at another club maybe. Ball sent forward towards Rossi, who contests with Feeks. Works out okay as Sakalis very nearly sliding the ball through for Bucalo. Now Checker in her farewell game, getting some attention from Karina Rossi, and you can see didn't take too kindly to it, did the veteran defender. That ball met by Paliwoda. Policina sending it forward to Rossi, who resumes her battle with Checker. Now Bucalo looks to the other side of the box where Sakalis was lurking. That attempt at a clearing ball has fired right into the face of, I think it was Nicolina Bucalo, who's a little bit worse for wear as a result. Now gets ready to give chase. Lamont looking centrally, misses Vatke. And the return ball for Parbury is a little bit ahead. Assistant referees this afternoon, Labrini Ularis and Liana Georgiev. Assisting Angelique Manjon in the middle of the park, and Aidan Skinner is our fourth official. On a chilly afternoon at Wembley Park. Game does look to have settled into a little bit more of a regular pattern in the last handful of minutes. Box Hill starting to control some of the possession. Here is Rihanna Policina looking cross-field. It's a bit behind the scorer of the second goal, Liv Ellis. Nice play from Box Hill as Parbury finds Sakalis. Sakalis and Policina exchanging passes before eventually retreating to Paliwoda. See Box Hill just controlling the game. They've made a real habit of that in the last couple of months. They've been so hard to break down. They have easily the best defensive record of 4 teams that will play finals. conceded just the 27 goals in their 21 games thus far. It's at least 28 after today. Chance for Bucalo, sending it back out wide to Parbury, who comes in with the cross. So Rossi's attempt out to the edge of the area, and Murakami looking to double her money this afternoon. That one drags wide, though, of Kokorevsky's post. Here is Karina Rossi. To skip away from Eliza Amendolia. Does enough to win her team a throw. So the player with the armband, Liv Ellis, will trudge on over to get us back underway. Alessino. Final touch deemed to have come off what looks to be Sakalis, so Preston will get us back underway. Now Mendolia goes the direct route towards Valentine Percy. Percy, who will finish the season as Preston's top scorer. 10 goals in NPLW football. Valentine Percy, although has struggled a little bit for game time in the second half of the campaign. Plenty of attacking talent to compete with for playing time, has Valentine Percy. Has generally made the most of her opportunities. As Alessino gets back whilst Box Hill attempt to play their way forward. Now Policina for Box Hill. Sees Sakalis on that far side. Not sure if that's where she was intending the ball. In the end, it's easily into the gloves of Kokorevsky. This is Lamont. Offside flag, though, will mean that scorer of the opening goal won't get another look, at least not now. So as things stand, Box Hill continuing their winning run, extending it to 9 straight games, heading into the finals. We'll try to keep you abreast of the other games taking place, which will affect Box Hill's final positioning. Bulleen hosting Brunswick Juve and Essendon Royals hosting Heidelberg in a clash between 2 finals teams. Here's Rossi on the turn using Sakalis. Thought about going wide, instead finds Rihanna Policina. And Policina unloads from a long way out. It's awkward for the goalkeeper. Rossi got another shot on, but the offside flag meant that it wouldn't have counted in any case. Well, by way of goal updates, I can tell you that Bulleen Lions have come out absolutely flying against Brunswick Juve. Just over 20 minutes played there as well, and looks to be already 4 goals scored by Bulleen Lions, so they have wasted no time in sewing up second spot. So it looks as if Box Hill, the best they can hope for today is 3rd, and they'll secure that just by matching the Essendon Royals result. Game that remains 0-0 up at Cross Keys. So it would have taken a lot of things going their way. Box Hill to end up in second spot, looking like they'll have to settle for 3rd, which they were, or would have been, you'd think, expecting prior to today's games. That ball over the top, met by Alicino. Now Ellis. Looking towards Sakalis, but out of play, and Dan Foden will play ball boy. So we're halfway through this opening half of the final day of the NPLW Victoria season. Box Hill lead 2-1. Ellie Lamont comes charging after that ball. I'm not sure if she lost her footing, but she came crashing into Chloe McKenzie. The goalkeeper looks to be perfectly fine, and it's Lamont who's done more damage to herself. So some concern for the Preston goal scorer. We'll wait for some medical assistance to get to Ellie Lamont. Just went charging after the ball, did Lamont, and in that desperation, suddenly doing some damage to herself. I think just losing her footing and maybe on the way down, copping a knock to the head. So some real concern for Ellie Lamont. Afternoon started very brightly for Preston, led by Ellie Lamont's goal. He's now sitting up and hopefully looks as if the damage isn't too severe. We'll see if she's in a position to continue. Looks maybe as if they're administering one of the concussion tests for Ellie Lamont. As mentioned at the start of the game, a very youthful bench for Preston Lions. May well see any of a number of players who have featured predominantly for the youth teams this campaign, if indeed Ellie Lamont is withdrawn, but she's back on her feet and trudging towards the sideline. Unassisted Ellie Lamont, so that's a good sign and suggests that it's not too serious of an injury. We'll see if it forces her out of the game in any case, but play will be able to get back underway in a couple of moments. So for the moment at least, Preston will continue with 10 players on the pitch. But from the looks of things, Ellie Lamont will be okay to come back onto the field. So that's certainly good news. Here is Sophia Paliwoda for Box Hill. Changes passes with Murakami before retreating to Chloe McKenzie. McKenzie, one of a number of players on the pitch who have played in the FE Academy setup over the last few years. Here's Roach, makes a bit of space for herself before going for goal. Emily Roach! It's over the line, Preston a level. A brilliant long-range finish off the crossbar, off the back of Chloe McKenzie. And despite the goalkeeper's best efforts to claw it away, the final decision is that the ball did cross the line, as it certainly looked to do from our angle. And Emily Roach brings Preston level. Well, a really entertaining first 28 minutes. 2-2 now the score. Box Hill will once again just have a little bit of work to do if they are to claim the 3 points this afternoon. If they were to draw and Essendon Royals were to win, then both teams would finish on 41 points, but the Royals' superior goal difference would mean Box Hill would finish 4th. So they'll definitely be wanting to win just to guarantee that 3rd place finish, will Box Hill. Good news from a Box Hill perspective is that the news coming out of Cross Keys is that Heidelberg United have taken the lead. So that would mean that the result wouldn't particularly matter for Box Hill, and they'd be finishing in 3rd place anyway. So as things stand, looking rather likely that Box Hill will be heading to the Veneto Club to take on Bulleen Lions in their preliminary final. Do deserve so much credit, the Box Hill players and staff, for their efforts this campaign. They made a bit of a run towards one of the final spots last season, but left things a little bit late. They've certainly been flying the last couple of months under Kogan Sabaratnam, though, with their A-League players into the mix. And this historic club, which have been very much trailblazers in Victorian women's football, now right back in the top echelon of play. Just one game away after today from a grand final berth. That ball is a good one for Karina Rossi, but the striker went a little bit early with her run. So Ellie Lamont there making her run towards the ball. A pained expression on her face as it ran away from her, so Elwyn Parbury's throw will resume play. Bucalo and Parbury look for the quick exchange, but the touch is a little bit too heavy from the fullback. Here is Kokorevsky using Jade Feeks as Preston look to play their way out, and Mendolia just got the ball stuck underneath her a little bit there, but it's worked out in the end for Preston as Emily Roach carries the ball forward. Loses out to Bucalo, who uses the pass from Maho Murakami. Scything attempt from Bucalo. It works out in the end for Box Hill as Polacina picks up the ball. Sends it in behind. Karina Rossi is offside again. These two teams in their earlier meeting this season up at BT Connor Reserve. That was a good day for Box Hill, a 3-1 win they secured over Preston. Worth noting that their last defeat, Box Hill, was the week before that game. I mentioned the 8-game winning run that they're on. They're also on an 11-game unbeaten run, which began in that round 11 game against Preston. Here's Polacina. You saw what she was thinking, but just lost track of the ball a little bit and ends up scuffing the attempt well wide of the goal. Box Hill still without a couple of key players from earlier in the campaign, including two of the scorers in that earlier meeting against Preston in Katie Cox and Georgia Karaparidis. Josie Alessino, the other, who scored the 3 goals for Box Hill in a 3-1 win. One of the 9 that Alessino has to her name this campaign. A brilliant season from the recruit, brought in from Northwestern University in the US ahead of this season. Here's Mizuho Yamada. Skips around Parbury and looks towards Percy in the box. And a little bit of dispute as to who the final touch came off. And you can see Valentine Percy very much disagreeing with the decision of the officiating team. Considering how many first-team regulars are missing this afternoon for Preston, we look through the list of names not starting or on the bench, whether it's Emily Talevsky, Miri Nishimura, Eva Harrington, Rosie Curtis, Georgia Henderson. There are more as well. A number of players who have featured in nigh on every Dan Foden game in NPLW football over the last 3 seasons. Group of players on the pitch are more than holding their own against Box Hill. You'd say that the hosts have claimed a little bit of control of the general play, but that's 2 goals each, so Preston right in the mix as things stand. Murakami. Out to Bacalo, who has space down this right-hand side. And then even more is Parbury. Cross inboard is met by the toe of Sakalis, but it was too far behind the Box Hill player, and Murakami's been fouled. So tricky, these final day encounters, when you come up against a team with nothing to lose, maybe a set of players who haven't been first team regulars. Murakami saw the idea, but so did Kokorevsky in between the sticks for Preston. Bukalo, as Box Hill win the ball back high up. Polosina tries her luck. Mizuho Yamada doing enough to deflect the ball away. And the end decision is a Preston goal kick. Mendolia, who's been a bit of a target for Box Hill with their press in this game, just trying to catch out the number 28. Mendolia, who's done a lot of good work for Preston in the midfield this season, just harrying opposition and making life very uncomfortable for opposing midfielders. Hudson let that ball run maybe a little bit longer than she should have. Lamont's picked up possession for Preston and is barging her way through. Ellie Lamont leaves Ellis in her wake, but Alana Vatke is offside. From Parbury, almost losing it to Yamada. Preston fullback did enough for her team. Roach. That ball has too much fizz on it for Valentine Percy. Approaching the final 5 minutes of what has been an eventful first half on this final day of the NPLW Victoria regular season. Box Hill readying for their finals campaign against a Preston team who will finish 9th regardless of today's result. Was a moment about a month ago when Preston almost looked like being dragged into a relegation battle. They've done well to steady the ship since then and avert any of those concerns, the Lions. So another chance incoming for Preston Lions to deliver the ball into the penalty area. Certainly been the Lions' own penalty area that's seen much more of the ball than at the opposite end of the park. But when Preston have gone forward, they've more or less tended to score. And a chance to cause a little bit more trouble in the box. You see the towering figure of Jade Feeks as well as Emma Checker behind her, and Angelique Manjon just wanting to ensure that things don't get too physical in the box before the ball is delivered. You see Valentine Percy causing some trouble for Bucalo. Ball sent in. Mackenzie is tasked with claiming, and that was strong hands from the goalkeeper. Now Sakalis to launch the counter-attack for Pythagoras. Bucalo did just enough to maintain possession for her team. Let's eventually use Parbury. Losing out in the middle of the park, though, was Murakami. It paves the way for Vatke and Preston. Johnson there in support, but Lucino doing enough to see it out for a throw for Box Hill. And for the third time, Karina Rossi is flagged for offside. Just trying to get a bit of a jump on the two towering central defenders ahead of her, but each time, well, just hasn't quite yet found the timing on those runs. Roach retreats to the captain Checker. That's effective from Percy as it tees up Ellie Lamont for a long-range attempt. Well, with the awkward surface for the goalkeepers, it's always worth a long-range attempt, but that one is comfortable for Mackenzie. This is Ellis. No one was there making that run down the left-hand side, so Grace Johnson will easily get there first. Well, if you were Dan Foden before this game, you'd think you'd probably take a drawn scoreline at the halftime break. Still a chance as well for Preston to maybe grab a lead. Here's Vatke. A couple of players making charging runs towards the penalty area. Vatke pulled the trigger a little bit early for Kapanekia, and Hudson sees it behind for a Preston corner. Corner taken short. Roach sending it back out, and Hudson got there first, beating Percy in the aerial duel. It's well worked by Kapanekia, but in the end shielded all the way back to Chloe McKenzie. Here's Bacalo for Box Hill. Has space to unleash the shot and does so. Was well managed by Kokorevsky. I can tell you that the scoreline at Cross Keys remains Essendon Royals 0, Heidelberg United 1. Whilst at the Veneto Club, Boleyn have 6 goals to their name against Brunswick Juve, not even at the half-time break. So things very much looking as if they won't be changing on the final day when it comes to finals positioning between the top 4 teams. And so we head into 3 minutes of first half stoppage time at Wembley Park. The team has looked particularly assured defensively, and that's made for a thoroughly entertaining first 45 minutes. The game remaining very much in the balance with the scoreline at 2 goals apiece. This throw taken by Yamada up to Lamont, who looks to have made a full recovery from that ailment which struck her down early in, maybe about midway through this first half. Really is extraordinary that Preston have scored the 2 goals that they have, when you consider just how infrequently Box Hill have let goals in over the last couple of months during that winning run. Here's Bacalo, skips past Roach. Bacalo's cross, you like the idea. It was into a really dangerous position, but there supporting the defence was Elena Vatke, recognising how dangerous it can be defensively the final couple of minutes in a half of football. Box Hill across their last 7 games before today, conceding just the 2 goals. It's a mighty impressive record for a team that let in a fair amount in the first half of the season. They've really shored things up at the back, and that's been a cornerstone of their success. Winning today, though, will require some potency at the other end, some attacking damage. They've shown some, Box Hill, with their 2 goals to their name, but they'll need more, or at least 1 more if they are to make it 9 straight wins to close out the regular season. So it would make it 8 wins out of 11 home games in NPLW this season. Super impressive home record. What will almost certainly be their final game at this venue this campaign. Alessino has Polosina. Maybe Box Hill happy to take the intensity down a step, at least for the moment. Now looking to pick it back up as they charge it to the Preston half. Ball for Sakalis. Feeks got there first. And Johnson does indeed clear the ball. And that's half-time at Wembley Park. 2-2 in a really entertaining first 45 minutes of action. Preston got the jump on Box Hill with Ellie Lamont opening the scoring in the first couple of minutes. Then a couple of freak goals, you'd have to say, Not an ideal first 45 minutes for Preston goalkeeper Mayat Kokorevsky. Saw Box Hill surge into the lead, a combination of Murakami and Ellis doing the damage before Preston.
Let's go!
Ends 2. Welcome back to Wembley Park. Second half underway in this game on the final day of the NPLW Victoria season. Box Hill and Preston Lions 2-2 the score at the break after a thoroughly entertaining first 45 minutes in which Preston stole an early lead before Box Hill came storming back to lead 2-1, and then a long-range attempt from Emily Roach ended up bringing the Lions back level. So the game finally poised as we head into this second 45 as things stand, looking as if today's result won't have any impact on the ladder position of either of these teams. Here is Nicolina Bucalo, though, for Box Hill, looking to slide it through for Sakalis, who creates some space on her right. That pass out to the wing was cut out by Yamada. But for Box Hill, even if they are not to move up or down from their current third spot, they'll certainly be hoping to continue their winning streak as they head into a finals campaign in September. That ball over the top will be left by Checker for young goalkeeper behind her, Maya Kokorevsky. Now sent out towards Johnson, who has Sakalis hunting her down. In a duel between two players who featured in the most recent A-League women's campaign. That pass for Kapanekia. Kapanekia brought down, and illegally so, by Maho Murakami. Emma Checker, of course, playing her final Preston game today alongside her coach, Dan Foden, in the dugout for the final time after an incredible 6-year journey. Of course, taking Preston all the way to the top flight of Victorian women's football, and then that incredible campaign last year, which ultimately ended in disappointment, but that's not to take away from just how far this Preston team have come. In particular, their women's program making it to the final of the Nike Cup as well as the grand final. Heartbreak on both of those big days in the end, so no silverware to show for it as of yet. And this season's been a little bit of a crash back to reality, but it shouldn't take away from what Dan Foden and this Preston team have achieved over the last half a decade. Playing the team today who have more or less taken their spot in the finals positions. Of course, 3 of the 4 finalists from last season also finalists this campaign in Heidelberg, Essendon Royals and Boleyn. One change seeing Preston supplanted by Box Hill. A really exciting achievement for this Box Hill team who have been somewhat treading water in recent years, but certainly taken a meaningful step forward over the last couple of campaigns, and in particular this season, looking as if they'll be playing a preliminary final next time out away against Boleyn Lions at the Veneto Club, you'd think. Here's Emily Roach, the player whose efforts led to the second goal. May not be credited with it in the end. Probably an own goal from Chloe McKenzie. But here's Karina Rossi for Box Hill. Looks centrally where Sakalis is surrounded by 3 Preston bodies. Percy fires it into the feet of Elena Vatke, who turned one way then the other, but ultimately into trouble. Policina looking to tee up Murakami, whose shot is well wide of the target. Box Hill not only won the earlier meeting between these teams, but have dominated the head-to-head in women's football over the years. This the 25th time that Preston Lions and Box Hill have gone head-to-head. And of the previous 24, Box Hill have won 20 of those games. Preston Lions just the 3. Of course, both of these teams are in very different states to what they have been for large parts of that time period. In particular, Preston Lions making massive strides in their women's program, such that they are in the top flight and now very much competitive with the more historically salient teams in Victorian women's football, such as Box Hill. Here's Sakalis. That touch could tee up Rihanna Polisina. And her shot was well saved by Kokorevsky. That attempted upfield ball met by the head of Ellis, who scored the second of Box Hill's 2 goals. Here's Alucino. Goes herself as she races away from Vatke and Percy. Now Sakalis tees up Rossi. Karina Rossi! Box Hill lead again. A really lovely bit of play. Josie Alucino, the architect. And Karina Rossi, a brilliant finish underneath the goalkeeper. Her 6th NPLW goal of the season. And Box Hill are back in front at Wembley Park and may well be on track for a 9th consecutive NPLW win to close out the 2025 regular season. Really lovely bit of play, carving through the middle of Preston. They have, throughout the game, gradually asserted a bit of control on the general proceedings. Have Box Hill and Preston really stinging them late in that second half with the equaliser. The Box Hill have regained their advantage. Cross sent in by Johnson, but headed clear. One back by a combination of Polisina and Sakalis. Polisina didn't see a lot of options in the middle, so retreated to her captain. Ellis clear of Roach and uses Murakami. And now Polisina again. Sakalis turning into space. Sophia Sakalis! It's 4 for Box Hill. A superb long-range strike with the perfect amount of height. And Box Hill now breaking clear of Preston early in this second half. Sakalis adding her name to the score sheet. That just her 2nd goal of the NPLW season, of course, joining back up with Box Hill midway through the campaign following her A-League duties with Melbourne Victory. And that just a snapshot of what she can do. A lovely long-range attempt. Here's Polisina, who keeps the ball in play. Tries the 1-2 with Sakalis. Polisina now with the cross. Arriving at the far post is Parbury. It's brilliant football from Box Hill. And they are marching towards the finals on a high. The Sakalis-Polisina combo proving difficult to contain. And there aren't many teams in Victorian football who would be able to live with that kind of passing move. Lovely football from Box Hill. And in a flash, really, they've gone from 2-2 to 5-2 leaders. And whilst they whilst they will be going into the finals as the third place team, I can't imagine that any of the other teams around them will be particularly confident taking on Box Hill, just considering how brilliant they've been in the last few weeks, and we're seeing some of their very best at the moment. There's another long-range attempt, this time from Bucalo. That one was wide of the target. Right now they are playing like an irresistible football team, Box Hill. Ellen Parvery adding her name to the score sheet. Now Bucalo can't quite get past Emily Roach. One well blocked by Percy. So 5 goals for Box Hill, 5 different goal scorers. As we see Kapanekia crowded out by a combination of Alucino and Sophia Sakalis. Sakalis and Policina. Of course, a couple of seasons now they've spent joining up with Box Hill following their A-League duties, and you really feel like they are clicking in season 2025. And with that ball going out of play, we will have the opportunity for the first use of the substitutes bench. So Maho Murakami and Karina Rossi, 2 of the goal scorers, are withdrawn. And that will pave the way for Theodora Wilson and Gabby Simpson to play out the remainder of this second half. Approaching the hour mark here at Wembley Park, and Wilson, the 20-year-old, signed from Alamein. She'll pick up her position in the middle of the park, wearing that number 30 shirt. Whilst Gabby Simpson, a bit more of a known quantity at this level, having come across from Bentley Greens. She's had a decent campaign, couple of goals to her name. Now, from the looks of things, will be leading the line for Box Hill for the remainder of this game. Here's Bucalo. Looking towards Simpson, but Emma Checker was in the right position. Now Mizuho Yamada lifting it up forward, but cut out by the Box Hill defence. Another chance here for Simpson, this time out to the right-hand side where Bucalo goes with the first-time cross. Checker there to block it behind, so Box Hill will have themselves another corner. Corner is sent in. So Simpson the nearest to it. Sakalis could still do some damage. Simpson as well. Yamada scrapping it as far away as possible. Policina mistimes her strike. And we'll go the conservative approach back to Liv Ellis. So there Wilson in the middle of the park, getting that touch and playing it back to her captain. Ellis trying the release ball, but cut out by Amendolia. Paliwoda finding herself a little bit higher up the pitch than usual. So looking like Box Hill will be heading to the Ven to play Bulleen Lions, as that ball is lovely for Ellie Lamont. Tries an audacious finish, but that one off target in the end. Would have taken something pretty special to nail the finish from there, Ellie Lamont. For Box Hill, they've of course played Bulleen a couple of times this season. It was part of the unbeaten run. A 1-1 draw here against Bulleen at Wembley Park. So Bulleen, one of the few teams to take points from Box Hill during this brilliant undefeated streak, and here at Wembley Park as well. Theodora Wilson, who was brought on off the bench a few minutes ago, was one of the scorers for Box Hill in that 1-1 draw. And the other meeting came back right at the beginning of the season, round 1. A 2-1 win for Bulleen Lions at the Veneto Club. Interestingly, the other substitute that we just saw, Gabby Simpson, was the scorer on that day for Box Hill. So a draw and defeat against Bulleen for Box Hill, but fair to say that they haven't been playing in either of those meetings quite as well as they've looked over the last couple of months, including today. Well, at least in the second half of Box Hill, they've been just exhilarating to watch. Preston looking to be readying a set of changes of their own at the next break in play. See if they can survive up until that point with the scoreline as it stands. Ellis forward to Policina. Goes inboard to Sakalis. She looks over to the right-hand side. Just about kept in play by Parbury. Goes along the deck towards Simpson, out towards Wilson, and Feeks clears the danger. Lucino, it was largely her work that created that third goal for Box Hill, setting them on their way in this second half. For Sakalis scored the fourth. That's a lovely release ball for Ellie Lamont, though. Has support in the middle in Kapanekia. Went herself, Ellie Lamont. And the shot leaving a little bit to be desired. So with that, Preston will be able to make some of their substitutions. Sophia Marinos coming on for Ellie Lamont, we just saw take that shot. Rebecca Santilia will replace Elena Vatke. And we might not get the fourth officials board for the third change. From the looks of things, Grace Johnson heading to be replaced as the third player. And we'll get confirmation as soon as we can of who is the third player to be introduced for Preston. So it looks to be in that right fullback position. Bree Gurr coming on for the final half hour or so of action. Dan Foden playing some of the younger members of his squad, giving them some top-level experience against really some of the very best that NPLW Victoria has to offer. We're seeing two of them right now with Policina and Sakalis. Here is Sophia Sakalis playing it out towards Bucalo, but well cut out, and Preston can look to spring forward. First touch for Brieger. Playing it to Feeks. Back central towards Kapanekia. Carlo doing her best to intercept. Eventually falls to the feet of Roach. Roach and Kapanekia combine. The through ball. Hoping to set away Marinos. Now over on that left-hand side. The cross comes in. Alicino had to be clever. Still Preston threatened, and that's, well, a positive impact from a few of the substitutes getting involved. Here's Yamada, who's remained high up the pitch. That a very well-timed tackle from Elwyn Parbury. Another shot towards Chloe McKenzie's goal. She'll be happy to watch that fly wide of her post and in the end all the way out for a throw. And with that, Box Hill will be able to look to their substitutes bench once more. And Sienna Teixeira will be introduced. She'll take the place of Liv Ellis. Teixeira, another one of the mid-season A-League recruits. Nicolina Bucalo is also withdrawn. She's replaced by Holly Murray. Teixeira and Holly Murray onto the park. Doesn't get much easier of a task for Preston as more A-League calibre players are introduced by Kogan Sabaratnam. Wanting to make sure that all of his team are match sharp and firing ahead of the finals campaign. Brieger will have to give chase here, but Josie Alicino's stolen in behind. Tried to tee up Policina. Nice bit of control there on display from Santilia. Hudson getting it back to McKenzie. Well, you can see the substitutions have certainly brought some energy to both teams. Preston looking a little bit more threatening on the attack. Goes throw. Does pick out Santilia, who will give chase again here. Hudson just shepherding at it so that McKenzie can come out and collapse on the ball. Tell you that both Berlin and Heidelberg have extended their leads. Berlin now 7-0 ahead against Brunswick Juventus. Heidelberg 2-0 up against Essendon Royals. So that first week of finals more or less guaranteed now. The Royals and Heidelberg will do battle for the second time in 2 weeks. Heading across to Olympic Village for that next game, though. And the winner of that will take on the winner of Berlin against Box Hill in the grand final. Teixeira's cross into the box. Asks plenty of Elwyn Parbury and indeed rolls behind for a Preston goal kick. Box Hill and Berlin, of course, two teams geographically quite close by. Eastern suburbs representatives. Heidelberg up a little bit further north, where Berlin are as well, to be fair. Certainly a hotbed of Victorian football talent in Melbourne's eastern northeast. Essendon Royals looking to upset the party a bit out over on the west side, but here is Gabby Simpson making a run forward and winning her team a corner. Will be delivered by Policina. Chance perhaps for a first meaningful involvement from Holly Murray. Taken short to Alicino, back to Policina. Cross in meets the head of Hudson. And Hudson from a long way out. It's always going to be hard work to hit the target and challenge the goalkeeper from there. And indeed, Preston will be able to reclaim possession as they look to play their way out. Brieger playing it across to Emma Checker and now Mizuho Yamada. Around at some of the other scores on this final day of NPLW action in top flight of Victorian women's football. South Melbourne, the Nike Cup winners, looking to end the season strong there. They have a commanding lead against Burundara, so by the looks of it, they'll narrowly miss out on finals in the end. Just the single point likely to separate them and Essendon Royals. Alamein, another team who were right in the mix for finals a few weeks ago. They still lead at Spring Hills as we see Sienna Teixeira. A brilliant finish from a long way out, curling into the top corner. And off the bench and onto the score sheet, Sienna Teixeira back into the Box Hill team this afternoon. And that is 6 goals now for Box Hill. Certainly sharing around the goals as well. 6 different goal scorers for 6 goals for Pythagoras. Well, they started the final day 9 goals behind each of the other top 4 teams in terms of number of goals scored in NPLW football this campaign. They're doing plenty of work to close that gap. Well, for Preston, understandable that Box Hill have gotten a little bit away from them in this second 45. About half their first team not playing as that cross in could work out. Here's Marinos. A really good look at goal for one of the Preston substitutes to pull one back. Just missed time to finish, did Sophia Marinos. So Preston will now make another couple of substitutions. It's Summer Kapanekia and Emily Roach both being withdrawn for final 20 or so minutes of this one. Getting a further look at perhaps the future of Preston with Karina Todorova onto the park. Alongside Caitlin Tom up top. Here is the attacking substitute in the number 99 shirt, you see. Wasn't able to keep the ball in play though, so Box Hill will restart with a Siena Teixeira throw. And from the looks of things, Kogan Sabaratnam would like to make full use of his substitutes bench. An early mark for Sophia Paliwoda and Zoe Kataforis, the remaining outfield player, to be substituted in. So Box Hill themselves happy to make use of some younger talent. And Kataforis will see out the remainder of this game alongside Hudson in the back line for Box Hill. Just under 15 minutes remaining of the 90. Just under 15 minutes remaining of Emma Checker's Preston career, as well as of Dan Foden's tenure as head coach. Here's Valentine Percy making a good run. You saw the idea with Tom in the middle of the box, but well cut out by Holly Murray. Now Amendolia from a long way out. And always awkward for a goalkeeper. We've seen in this game some of the unpredictable bounces that can happen in and around that goal mouth, but that one was a little bit more straightforward for Mackenzie. And foul called there against Karina Todorova. Box Hill did so well to break clear of the chasing pack. If you go back about a month, there were maybe 4 or 5 teams competing for the final couple of final spots. Heidelberg and Berlin have looked pretty okay for a while. Essendon Royals too looked likely for a top 4 finish, having made their move in the middle of the campaign. But South Melbourne, Alamein, Burundara were all in the mix. Box Hill in the end breaking well clear of that pack and even leapfrogging Essendon Royals in the last few weeks. See the idea there of Santilia not quite panning out. Here's Teixeira. Cross inside. A little grab of the arm on Emma Checker will mean the defender gets the whistle. Box Hill will finish the season on 43 points. It's a really impressive increase when you consider their last 2 campaigns. 30 points and 29 points respectively. That's tended to be where Box Hill have found themselves in the last few years post-COVID and post the expansion of the NPLW Victoria competition. So come on, leaps and bounds. By the looks of things, we'll finish just the 7 points short of Heidelberg United as well. Heidelberg, of course, dropping off a little bit in the past couple of weeks and maybe the last month or so. Box Hill contributing to that, of course, when they beat Heidelberg United here at Wembley Park. Just 7 points away from the points tally of the Premiers. Finals campaign incoming. That game against Bulleen Lions looking like a mouth-watering clash. Bulleen, who themselves have been on a pretty decent run of form, winning 4 of their last 5 games. Have been goal fests for Bulleen. 4-1 win against Heidelberg last time, 3-3 against South Melbourne, 6-2 FE Academy, 4-2 Bentley Greens. They certainly know how to score them, Bulleen Lions, but they're also very capable of conceding. And so that game between Bulleen and Box Hill will pit the best defensive record against the best attacking record of the finals teams. As we've seen today, Box Hill very capable of doing some attacking of their own. Here's one of those players, Sakalis. Thought about using Policina, might go herself instead. Does eventually play it short to Policina. Wilson gets it back to Teixeira. Now Parbury. Ellen Parbury got a name on the score sheet in the second half, and maybe that gave her the confidence to go for that more ambitious attempt. Just a little bit of a pause to, I think, check on the welfare of Sienna Teixeira, but all is good to continue. We know that the obvious attacking threats for Box Hill are the likes of Policina and Sakalis, Karina Rossi as well. Got Sienna Teixeira, who can do a lot of damage from wide areas, but of course it's Josie Alessino who's the leading scorer for Box Hill this season with 9 goals to her name. She's proven to be an incredibly useful, versatile asset for Box Hill this campaign, and scored almost for fun. Very nearly there, pinching it back from Todorova, but the referee's whistle will curtail the Box Hill counter-attack. Line as well. Pally Woda and Holly Murray have made a really effective partnership. We've seen Zoe Hudson today. She's looked pretty good too, and then we know that the fullbacks can attack, but also contributing to that back line. And Parbury getting a goal, but also doing her defensive duties. Here's Sakalis, met by the challenge of the substitute Todorova, and referee happy that it was timed well enough, but Sophie Sakalis feeling the effects of it, so some late concern for Box Hill. Scarlett just remaining on her haunches, but looks to be getting back to her feet slowly. Todorova won't get many more challenging attacking tasks than what she's been faced with today. Here's Alessino. That was well read by Amendolia, but Alessino will get it back. Going herself, Josie Alessino looking for a 10th goal in the regular season. That one well off target and hitting one of the cars you see there behind the goal. High risk area to park if you're at Wembley Park. And here's an opportunity again for Josie Alessino. Skips around the goalkeeper, setters it for Policina. It's 7 goals for Box Hill, 7th heaven on the final day of the regular season. And they will head into a finals campaign on a 9-game winning streak. Rihanna Polosina adding to the goals tally. She's been a big part of the demolition job this afternoon. Really just amazing that it's taken that many goals for Polosina to add her own name to the score sheet. And Alicino yet again involved in setting up the opportunity. So the Dan Foden era at Preston will end with a bit of a whimper. Here's Sienna Teixeira looking to compile the misery even further. Plays it centre to Alicino. Josie Alicino. Well, she deserves the goal for her efforts this afternoon. That one closer to finding its way into the back of the net, but a little bit too much height on it. Seven goals for Box Hill for today. They scored 5 goals twice, both against Brunswick UV and FE Academy. But 7 goals today. A quite historic total. They have really put Preston to the sword in this second half. Preston, who hadn't conceded more than 4 this campaign in any single outing. Just with the circumstances, it's somewhat understandable that things have gotten a little bit out of hand for the Lions. Preston did score 7 twice last season. 7-1 wins against Alamein and Bentley Greens, as well as an 8-0 win against Calder. So they've been dishing out these kinds of heavy scorelines in their time back in the top flight. This is the first time they've been on the receiving end of a defeat. Is comprehensive. Looking to maybe salvage some face with a late goal. Nice first touch from Santilia, but wasn't able to continue the run inside the box. Now the ball forward, Emma Checker favoured ahead of Alicino and takes no chances as she sends it out for a throw. Can Alicino get her name on the score sheet? She fired from outside the box. Now Polosina, Briguer just showing referee Angelique Manjon that her hands were off. And Sakalis is fouled once more, so Box Hill will be able to send it into the box again as we head right towards the end of the 90th minute, in fact. Rihanna Polosina from a long way out. And well claimed that time by Kokorevsky. An afternoon from which the young goalkeeper will certainly learn. Won't feel particularly good at the moment, nor will it for the rest of her teammates. Shipping 7 goals on the last day of the campaign, but it is a kind of harsh lesson from which you hear players talk about growing and moving forward from. On a day when you've been comfortably outclassed and outmatched. We'll see how much stoppage time they'll have to see out Preston. We're right towards the final couple minutes of the regular season. Here's Polosina. Goes central where Alicino was looking to wrangle clear of Amendolia. Her shot was blocked by Valentine Percy. Again, Alicino meets Percy, who's back supporting the defence and hit the deck after making that last block. don't see it, but Policine has stolen about a metre with this corner delivery coming inside the field of play. Here's Murray. Wasn't able to reclaim possession. Out to Parbury. Looks inboard. Decent touch from Simpson and trying to get herself on the score sheet, but that one wide of the post. Ball inside to Shearer with the header. Wasn't able to make the contact she was after. Well, that's full time at Wembley Park. Box Hill dish out the pain to Preston Lions, their heaviest defeat since returning to the top flight of Victorian women's football. 7 goals conceded, just the 2 scored. Box Hill put their foot on the accelerator in that second half. It was 2-2 at half time, but 5 unanswered goals means Box Hill United will head into a finals campaign off the back of 9 consecutive NPLW wins. They'll be tough to stop. They'll head to Berlin next weekend and try to dethrone one of the dominant forces in Victorian football in recent years. For Preston, it is the end of the Dan Foden era. Emma Checker's last game for the club as well. No doubt we'll see plenty of change up north as they look to reset for season 2026 and make their way back towards the upper end of the Victorian football echelons. For this final day, though, of the NPLW Victoria season, it was Box Hill who had all the answers and did all the damage. 7-2, the full-time score. Be sure to tune in next weekend as finals gets underway, featuring this Box Hill team. But to round out the regular season at Wembley Park, full-time score, Box Hill 7, Preston Lions 2.